be going through three techniques on dividing polynomials. The first one is important, and you need to be able to do this. Notice here we have three terms on the top and one term on the bottom, and so we will split this fraction into three separate fractions. The first one would just be the 10x to the 5 over the 5x squared, and then the second one would be the second term over 5x squared, and then the third one would be the third term over 5x squared. And so you put each term over 5x squared, and then you simplify each term. In the first one, 10 divided by 5 is 2, and x to the 5 divided by x to the 2 is x to the 3. The second one simplifies to 3x squared, and the third one to 4x. And so that is an important thing to do. Remember, three terms in the top, one in the bottom, split them up. Here's one that you're not going to be asked on a test to complete one like this, and I've tried to fix the homework where you don't have to complete one like this, but I'll show you the technique for long division using polynomials, and perhaps you can appreciate the next technique. So even if you cannot duplicate this technique, I think you can get by with the next one. And so we're going to take the first two terms of the polynomial that we're dividing into and divide. So we still don't recognize what that is, so we'll take just the first term and divide. 6x cubed divided by 3x is 2x squared. We want to write that above the x squared, the second term. We multiply and subtract. Be careful with the subtracting. 6x cubed minus 6x cubed is 0. And here we have negative x squared minus negative 4x squared. Now I wrote that down over here on the side so you can see that's negative x squared plus 4x squared, which comes out to be 3x squared. Bring down the next term, divide again. 3x squared divided by 3x is just an x. Multiply and subtract. Bring down the next term, divide again. 3x divided by negative 3x is negative 1. Multiply and subtract. Now here's how we write the answer. 2x squared plus x minus 1 with a remainder of 2 means plus 2 over the thing we were dividing by. Here's one. I'm going to go through the long division again. I'm going to do it kind of quickly. You can come back and slow it down if you want to see it slower. Just like previously, 2x cubed divided by x is 2x squared. Multiply and subtract. Bring down the next term. X squared divided by x is x. Multiply, subtract. Bring down the next term. 6x divided by x is 6. Multiply, subtract, and write the answer. 2x squared plus x plus 6 with a remainder of negative 38 would look like this. Now I'm going to show you the other technique known as synthetic division. You've got to know how to do this one even if you can't do the previous one. Here's how synthetic division works. We're going to take the polynomial on top and write down just the coefficients and the constant. We're going to take the bottom, x plus 3, and out front of those coefficients, we're going to write a negative 3. Notice the difference. X plus 3, we use negative 3. And then the process is pretty easy from there. Starting over here on the left, we're going to add 3 plus nothing is 3. Then multiply. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. And then repeat that process until we get to the end. Add. multiply, add, multiply, and add. Now, here's how we write the answer from those numbers. If we had a 3x cubed to begin with, then the new polynomial, when we divide out an x, is going to be x squared. And so we take the 3 at the bottom here and write it as 3x squared minus 2x plus 4. The negative 16 is the remainder. And we do with the remainder just like we did in the long division. We write that over the thing we were dividing by. Here's another one. Let me show you some of the other nuances of the technique. Here we're going to have in the top 3x cubed minus 4x plus 5. Notice that it goes from 3x cubed to 4x to the 1, and there is not an x squared. When we write down the coefficients, we have to have a coefficient for every term. If the term is missing, it gets a coefficient of 0. So the other thing is, if it says x minus 2 on bottom, we use a positive 2 out front. Now the technique is exactly what we just went through. We add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And here's how we write the answer. Just like before, if we started with x to the third, we now have an x squared, then an x, then a constant, and then the remainder.